Hello and welcome to the We All Follow podcast. My name is Matt Fox. I am your host, fresh out of the frying pan and into the fire. Nigel, how's it going, buddy?
Good man, good. Very good.
Follow us on X at We All Follow Pod. Nigel, real quick, we got a lot to get to today and not a lot of time. A moment of the week.
This is going to be tough. Moment of the week.
I got
Moment
mine.
of the week.
Mine
Go on then.
was the stiff arm that Mateta gave to Odegaard before he slapped it into the top corner over the keeper. That was like Heisman quality, NFL picturesque, stiff arming. Odegaard went like full back, like his back was arched as he fell backwards. This is the highest of the high. And he had a helmet on. What could be better than that, Nigel?
Well, the only thing what could be better than that is understanding why Shadur Sanders is still not being took off the draft board in the NFL. But
It's I'll insert Saul Campbell meme.
yeah,
Is it a color thing?
yeah. Is it an undeveloped colour thing? Yeah. Moment of the week. Oh, might have been last night actually. Moment of the week might have been last night. PSG getting slapped at home by Nice with a full strength team out.
That was definitely an abusive relationship, Nigel. It was an abusive
Yeah.
relationship. And PSG got battered.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I think Nice only had 3 shots, got all 3 on target, and scored all 3 goals.
Yes, I meant in terms of that they got slapped, not
Yeah.
necessarily that they got to beat them down.
Yeah.
But we'll take it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Heading into the games of the week.
Yeah. 100%.
So let's pop right into it. FA Cup semifinals. Before we dig into the trophy with the big ears, Nigel, we got one on Saturday, one on Sunday. Crystal Palace, Aston Villa is up first. Who's going to win and why?
Villa.
Aston Villa. Well, they haven't been to a final in a while, have they?
Yeah. Early 2000s. I think we did the League Cup, didn't they? The League Cup 2000s under Martin O'Neill.
I mean, it sounds right. Just keep going. I'll look it up while you tell me about why they're going to win. That's my job here, Nigel.
Purely on attacking strength. I just think they'll score more goals than Palace. I think both teams will score. I just think that they'll score more goals. Yeah, I can see that being like maybe 3-2 to Villa, 4-2 to Villa. I just think Villa have got more about them, and this is a Emirates special, isn't it? Cup runs are an Emirates special, so I think it'll be a Villa City final. So there we go.
Yeah, it looks like the last time they won the FA. Oh, you're talking about if they've been there at all. 14-15, they were the runner-up in
Yeah.
the FA Cup. 1920, they were runner-up in the League Cup. But the last win would have come back in 95-96 season in the League Cup.
Yeah.
So it's they would be on not quite the Newcastle level of 50 years, but a solid 30
Yeah.
for some fans who haven't seen their team win a trophy in quite some time, which would be cool. That moves us on to Forest Man City, which you already told me that Man City is going to make it to the final. Why is
Yep.
that?
This is the end of season renaissance for City, where I think Pep's managed to get a firework up their arse, and I think it was a shit or bust end of season. We need to pull it out because we needed to get into the Champions League, and I think that's then gone into a cup run. And I said even at the start, even when Man City were in that horrible spiral where we couldn't win a game, I said, for a fact they're still going to win a trophy at the end of the year, don't you? And I think they'll win the FA Cup. I think they'll win it.
Yeah, I
And
mean, like you said. Sorry, go ahead.
So I was just saying, I mean, Forest have been good recently, but it's all right playing a certain way of football in the league and getting success from it. When it's a one-off game and you need to win, I just think City have got that little bit more, and De Bruyne's in his last dance in there. So this is last rodeo for them. So he's all out for it, and I just think that I think a City will have got a little bit more about them now. I think they'll be all right.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing about Forest is this year they've been pretty stout at the back, right? When you look at their goals conceded, I want to say they're third, behind Arsenal and
Liverpool.
Liverpool. Um, but they don't score a ton. And Man City, they might have like the poorly drawn horse, where the back of the horse is drawn by my 4 year old. But the front of that horse features Erling Holland and Marmouche. Did I just make up his name?
No, but
Um,
Haaland's out in there. Haaland's out for the season, so it's
oh,
Marmouche now. It's Marmouche, De Bruyne, Doku,
I mean, I almost
Grealish.
not to Erling Holland is an amazing player, but Kevin De Bruyne feeding balls into Marmouche gives me nightmares. And
Yeah,
if I was a Forest player, I would still be awake because I wouldn't be able to sleep with that kind of fear
I think
in my
I think
belly.
I think this is the one thing what plays in City's favour. If Marmoush pulls onto Milenkovic, so Forest like playing either a two or a three centre backs. If they're trying to win the game, they'll go four at the back and they'll play Neco Williams, Aina, with or Toffolo, with Murillo and Milenkovic as centre backs. Now, if Marmoush pulls onto Milenkovic, there's only one winner there. In a foot race, there's only one winner. What Forest would have to do in that case is they'd have to try and swap the backs so that Murillo is in a foot race with Marmoush all the time, which is tough. If it was Haaland, I actually think it suits Forest more because Haaland, although he's quick, there's more chance that balls are going to go into him high rather than on the floor.
Right.
And
Yeah,
so,
absolutely. This game screams to me, Nigel. 3 goals to Man City, 2 or 3 assists from Kevin De Bruyne. Two of those goals scored by Marmouche, and the other one scored by like Phil Foden on the edge of the box. But like you got two running in behind goals from Marmouche, and then you get like a scrappy third.
well, Foden's hardly played. He's hardly played recently. I think he got more chance of Doku playing, and uh, yeah, it'd be interesting. Be interesting.
Who knows? Pep always makes weird calls in these matches as well, and
Yeah,
they do still have a genuine. Although I would say they are in the front runners. They do still have a legitimate top 5 race that they need to contend with as well. So,
yeah,
with that being said, let's get into the meat and potatoes, Nigel. The bangers and mash of this week coming up, and that's the Champions League. You
yeah,
have two Champions League semifinals featuring 4 teams because that's how semifinals work, Nigel. If you haven't been paying attention, the semifinals have 4 teams in 2 different matchups. And the first matchup is Arsenal hosting PSG on Tuesday, and the second matchup is Barcelona hosting Inter on Wednesday. Let's start with the Barcelona match because Inter have been a team that I believe they've only allowed 1 goal throughout this Champions League campaign up until the knockouts, right? They conceded a couple in Bayern, right? In Munich rather. But they're typically a stout team defensively, and then they have their 2 forwards who are running around, linking up, and making things happen. Barcelona have been all fireworks all season. Um, who's got the edge? Obviously, this one at the Camp Nou.
uh, oof, good, going to be good. Barca attacking wise can cause into problems. You know that Inter are going to go and play with a five at the back, and they're going to sit and they're going to try and catch you on the counter attack. Barca aren't great at the back, not at all, not all great at the back, and I think this game is just going to be a chess match. And
But it's sorry, Nigel. One thing that I did want to bring in the lead up to this match, right, is that, and I think it's quite relevant, is that Barca plays tomorrow. They play Saturday, the 26th, wherever you live, and they play a major El Clasico for
yeah,
the Copa del Rey
yeah,
final in Seville. So they're not playing at home. They're also not playing in Madrid, but they have a massive rivalry game. So how do you
yeah.
think that plays into the emotions and all of that stuff, win or lose, right?
I think at the top end it doesn't matter. Inter played AC Milan this week. Inter played AC Milan on Thursday, yeah, and got slapped.
And
Four
lost, yeah.
got slapped. So and that was in the Coppa Italia semi-final. So you know, what I mean, this uh, I think over two legs. I think there'll be less than 3 goals scored in that game, in that tie. Over 2 legs, less than 3 goals. Uh, because Inter are solid defensively. Barca will have all the ball. Inter will probably score a counter-attacking goal. Over 3 legs, I reckon it finishes maybe 2-1 to Inter or 2-1 to Barca.
This honestly, like the more and more that I look at the permutations of the teams that are left, like this honestly has what will be hyped up as an amazing final and is going to be
Mhm.
the most terroristic football game that this world has seen in decades. It's going to be
I
peak haram ball.
I said that if it's Arsenal versus Inter in the final, it would be like Patriots versus Rams in the Super Bowl.
I mean, it's gonna be like Taliban versus ISIS is what it's gonna be,
Yeah,
Nigel,
yeah,
because
yeah,
there's gonna be a lot of defense and hiding in mountains. That's what that's gonna be
yeah.
about. I think for if you're a neutral, you better pray to whoever you pray to that PSG and Barca are the teams to get through, because then you'll have a bit of a score fest. But um, yeah, I'm all in on the Arsenal Inter like 1-0 final guaranteed. Um, and just hope the coin flip goes your way. But that brings us to Arsenal PSG. So PSG, like you just said, Arsenal coming off of a not great midweek performance,
Mhm.
up in the against Crystal Palace in the league on Wednesday. Um, they didn't look great. Changed a couple. They didn't change as much as you might thought, but they changed a couple and they didn't look great. Um, Crystal Palace with two really nice goals. The volley from Eze off of a corner, and then like we discussed before, the stiff arm from Mateta and the chip from long distance. But Arsenal coming in off of basically a week's rest. PSG playing Nice, losing, breaking their invincible season, and then the game is at the Emirates, right? The Emirates that was certainly hopping last time out against Real Madrid. So, what do Arsenal have to do to come out 3-0 like they did against Real Madrid? And can
They
they?
just they just have to do what we did in the group stage, which was dominate midfield. And Inter are great on the Inter PSG are great on the ball in midfield. They've got Vitinha, Fabian Ruiz, Neves are good on the ball. None of them are physical. In that first game, Arsenal hammered their midfield, hammered them. They could not get out. Physically, we outran them, we outpaced them, we outmuscled them. Uh, our fullbacks kept their uh, wingers quiet. Barkler and Doué did nothing in that game. We Arsenal was so good defensively. They just completely shut them down. Completely shut them down. Uh, yeah, we had Kang up front, not Dembele in that game. But it was one of them where
And they
it
also didn't have Kavara, right?
yeah, but
In all
I,
fairness.
and I yeah I understand that, but they've got 4 wingers or 5 wingers, and it just depends who we play against. But we played against Dewey and Barkley that game, and they were shut down. The one thing I would say is in that game, in that game, there was a lot of chances against Marquinhos and Pacho. They played Marquinhos and Pacho at the back. If we play Marino up front, which I think is going to be the case, Marquinhos has not beaten him in the air, and physically is stronger than Marquinhos. If they play Beraldo, he's not beating Marino in the air either. So they've got a choice to make, PSG, in terms of what they do defensively, because I don't think, despite how good Hakimi and Mendes are going forward, defensively they're not great.
No, I mean
Uh,
I didn't watch the whole PSG Nice, but I did stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night. I watched the extended highlights, and if you see for Nice's second goal, this is like peak Arsenal, right? So
yeah,
what happens is, if you haven't seen it, I'll explain it real quickly. They take it from halftime. Nice pass it back to their center back. The center back launches it cross field towards the left center back of PSG, right? Who heads the ball out. Nice win the second ball on the right wing, their right wing, uh, PSG's defensive left. Mendy goes flying out to meet the ball, right? So imagine that Saka. Saka gets the ball and receives it on basically by the sideline, but the left back is all the way out of there, right? So now you have three in the center, and you have two forwards on three defenders in the center, right? They play a through ball. It's collected. The player turns away from the end line and crosses it back in towards the center, basically. And you have three Nice players on two center backs in the box, right? And
yeah,
it's pick your poison of who's going to finish it. So that, to me, the way that Mendes allowed himself to get dragged so far out of position, right? And imagine that that's Saka instead of, no disrespect to the Nice players, right? If it's Saka, you're gonna have two guys running out there, and
mm,
those, that kind of positioning is like, that's Arsenal 101. Look at the goal that Arsenal scored against Real Madrid at the away leg, right? Marino gets two. Saka, he pits it over his head to Saka. Obviously, a lot of play develops from that point, but that's how they progress the ball up the
yeah,
field. So I certainly think that there's going to be some potential defensive issues uh, aerially, right? And that's not even, like you said, getting into the physicality of the PSG midfield.
mm,
Obviously, I think PSG midfield is very technically solid. They can totally hit you one, two, three passes counter, and
mm.
Mendes and or Hakimi are flying up the pitch, and then you're, I mean, I don't know if you saw the highlights. Dembele hits the ball so hard, Nigel. I like, he's not a powerful looking guy. He rifles the ball. And he should have had two goals in this match at
Yeah,
minimum,
but
right?
it is like a scattergun though. Red arrows.
Yeah, it certainly was not. There were not many. There was one or two on target, but there was a bunch that should have
Yeah,
gone in. You
yeah.
know?
You see, I'll go back to the first leg, and Saka had Mendes on toast. Martinelli had Akima, and we pinned their fullbacks back. They didn't have much chance to get forward. We pinned them back 'cause we dominated the ball so much. And I think if you looked at the quarter final and Aston Villa, how Aston Villa went about the second leg, I know they were 2-0 down after half an hour, but the way that Villa dominated after that, Villa stopped paying them respect and physically went at PSG, and that was the difference. And once they physically went at PSG crumbled. Villa, I reckon, should have won that game and should have gone through. We should have been playing Villa because they had enough chances at that point. After they'd got the third goal, they had enough chances to get a fourth and a fifth. Uh, some dodgy, we discussed it before, haven't we? Some poor substitutional decisions by Emery.
Yeah, for
Uh,
sure.
but yeah, I mean, you just need that. If you're physical enough, I think this is where PSG have gone. They've gone too small. You need some physicality in that midfield, and I think that they've they're just undersized. They're undersized.
Yeah, the other thing that's interesting, in my opinion, that I'm not sure how much it'll come into play, but it is this team's first year under their manager, right? And I think as we've seen year in year out, teams never win the first year in the Champions League. It's very very rare as a team manager coach, like the whole kit and caboodle. And it'll be interesting to see how that plays into it, right? Like usually you have to go through that adversity, and maybe PSG are able to make it through this tie and make it into the final and lose in the final or whatever, or maybe they're able to get over the hump. But it'll be interesting to see like the this team's first time going through adversity, right? This is their first loss. They're coming off of their first loss of their season. Are they going to be able to pick their heads up and go again?
No,
Obviously, they're going to be up for the game, but how much is that going to sow a seed of doubt? Um, we've already lost to these guys and all that kind of stuff.
that's the thing. I wonder how much that group game plays on their mind because the amount of times that Luis Enrique has come out and said, Arsenal are the best team we've played so far this season. He's openly said it quite a few times. He said it after the game. He was like, that's a proper team. And I think that's going to play on their. I genuinely think that's going to play on their mind. I think they're going to the Emirates thinking, if we can get out of here at 2-0, we've got a chance at home. But, and I'll say this, I don't see Arsenal conceding many goals in Europe. It's just the way that we play. I don't see them conceding many goals. So for that, I think over 2 legs, I think it'll be Arsenal 3, PSG 1.
Interesting take there. I've refrained from doing score predictions on this show, so I'm gonna abstained courteously. Um, I do think that it's gonna be fascinating. You do have Kavara up against Jurian Timber, who is Mr. Lockdown himself. I mean, there used to be Revis Island. Now we're on Timber Island,
Yeah,
Nigel, because I mean he paid 180 minutes against Vinny, and how many dribbles did Vinny have? Was it
one wasn't it? Was it
zero
one?
or was it
Zero,
one?
zero,
It
zero,
was
one, something
zero
like
in the
that.
second leg. I'm not sure what it
Yeah,
was in the first leg.
yeah,
Um, so good luck, whoever has to play on the left for PSG. I think if I were PSG, I would be trying to attack down
yeah,
Arsenal's left, PSG's right. I think you're more likely to get more joy out of the Kivior, Miles Lewis Skelly side,
yeah,
especially when Miles Lewis Skelly goes on his gallivanting runs. However, typically you have Miles Lewis Skelly sat next to who, Nigel? Thomas Partey. And Thomas Partey is suspended for this match. So in some ways, it makes the defense more stout because instead of the person who's running back is Partey, it's now Declan Rice chasing you down.
yeah.
It almost gives you more license to run if you're Miles Lewis Skelly.
It'll be interesting to see what Arsenal do in midfield. I think it's going to be Rice, Marino, and Odegaard, and I reckon it's Trossard as a false nine, swapping with Marino,
Yep.
so doing a
Yep. Yep.
doing a
Yep. One
switch.
thousand percent.
Uh,
Especially because you already saw it in this last game, and it wasn't even Marino, right? Trossard is everywhere but where he's supposed to be,
yeah,
and um and Rice, like whenever there's gonna be a long ball, Marino's gonna go deep, and then Trossard's gonna come in and interplay, and they'll
yeah,
basically share the position, depending on the game state.
yeah, yeah. I
Trossard
agree.
doing the pressing and the running, uh, Marino doing the box crashing, which he's done to quite good effect in the last couple matches,
Yeah,
both as from the 8 and from the 9 position. I mean, ultimately, this part of the competition, it's really hard. You come against really good teams that are solid on all phases, right?
yeah,
I think one thing that PSG are not amazing at is A, in the air, and B, uh, on set pieces, right? You saw it on the in the game yesterday. Nice scored a set piece goal, from free kick that was basically on the end line, right? Wide. It was essentially a corner, um, that they whipped in. And the guy hit it unmarked.
Yeah,
I mean, I was listening to Julien Laurent the other day on the Arsenal Vision podcast. Shout out to those boys. Um, and he was saying that there was times where Enrique said that they weren't practicing set pieces and they started practicing them a little bit here and there. I'm like, this is the Ange Postacoglu corner strategy, and I'm not sure how well that's going to work out for you.
yeah.
So do you think that Arsenal are going to be able to capitalize on the set piece aspect of things and or even with a header in the box with some crosses? Is this the
Yeah.
team to cross it against rather than Inter, for example?
Yeah, oh yeah, 100%. I think we'll see a lot of balls going in the box, and Marino and Rice getting in there and attacking headers. It would not surprise me to see at the Emirates to see Arsenal score from free kicks or corners. I just think they will. I think they'll score from a set piece. Donnarumma is a big keeper, but he's not great with his hands. He flaps a lot at crosses. If you watch Donnarumma a lot, he stays on his line. He very, very rarely comes out to claim crosses. He stays on his line a lot. So yeah, I think they'll get under him. I think they'll get under him.
Again, sample size of one, but there was the first Nice goal was one that most would argue that the keeper should do better to get down. It kind of went
Yeah,
between his elbow and his side as he was falling to the ground, right? So he's large, but he's not the most is not Courtois, right? Like you
no,
might be the same size as him, but that doesn't mean that you have the same skill or ability as him.
yeah,
Um, of course, right? So it would be interesting to see the cross claiming numbers for Mr. Donnarumma. Um, but I think that's going to be a fascinating match. PSG back in the semifinals. Their European history. It's interesting. You're going to have out of this side of the bracket, you're going to have a team coming out that hasn't won the competition, no matter what, right? And that is bringing new blood and new life into things that
yeah,
have been pretty stale for the last few years. Obviously,
yeah.
with Real
True.
Madrid doing Real Madrid things. So, any last notes before we wrap this up?
Whew. Well, a quick a quick note on league football. Just a quick one on league football because there's some league games this weekend. I mean, not really much to talk about. You've got Chelsea Everton in the opening game, in the early game. I really don't see. I don't see that being particularly exciting. Uh, Newcastle should beat Ipswich. Brighton should beat West Ham. Fulham should beat Southampton, and Wolves should beat Leicester. I mean, pretty pretty boring Saturday. I expect Bournemouth to beat Man U on Sunday. I expect Liverpool to win the league and beat Tottenham on Sunday, and then I expect Brentford to beat Forest in midweek because Forest will be on a downer having lost the semi-final.
Yeah, shout out to Liverpool. We will give them their flowers on barring the most preposterous result that we've
Yeah,
seen this season, clinching the title at home against Tottenham Hotspur. Um, at the end of the day, they have accumulated the most points. They have the most wins. They have what is it? The second fewest goals allowed. They have
yeah,
the most goals, and they've done it the whole season, right?
yeah,
And so Arne Slot coming in, and whatever you want to say about who he's inherited and all of that stuff, right? Like you still have to go out and coach the boys, and you still have to get the wins, and you got to keep the team together. And there has been a lot of noise around the club, right? With between Trent, um, Virgil van Dijk, as well as Salah in terms of who was going and staying. There was a lot of times where they were getting asked about who was going to stay, if they were going to stay, who's leaving, and they stuck together and they weathered those moments and they've got over the line. and
Yeah.
worthy winners, regardless of what you want to say. Um, the players that they needed to stay fit have stayed fit. Salah has played out of his gourd this whole season. I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, I think has to go down in the very top echelon of single seasons in the Premier League. I think it's going to be hard to find um, many that are better.
Yeah.
He has 27 goals, 18 assists right now. Um, which those numbers are insane. You know what I mean? And we'll see in the last couple of games if he's able to break the assist record as well, as another thing to hang his hat on. Um, but definitely worthy winners. Any
Yeah.
notes on Liverpool?
None. That's good for me.
Okay, last note. Um, when you were talking about crosses, Nigel, over his career, let's look at the last 2 years. Donnarumma has claimed 5% of crosses. Um, and just for comparison's sake, right? At Arsenal, David Raya has claimed about 12.5% of crosses. Um,
Yeah.
so, very different ways. One is way bigger than the other, but one is going out of the way to claim the ball. So it'll be a fun weekend for the FA Cup, a fun midweek Champions League. There's Europa League matches, I'm sure, that we're not going to not going to cover because we don't care about second and third tier, and Chelsea playing Soundgarden in the Conference League. But we'll see you guys next week, and thanks for joining as always, Nigel.
So